Hi everybody, welcome to Safe Diving. In today's video we're going to be taking a look at my single cylinder tank setup. So so this is what I dive when I'm flying abroad on holiday. I'm just diving on a single cylinder. I just want something lightweight, something nice and compact, nothing too sort of big and bulky, and this kind of ticks all of the boxes for me. So I've got it here in front of me. So this is my single cylinder setup. Obviously it's a backplate and sort of harness wing setup. So I've got my backplate here, which is Mara's XR aluminium backplate, which is very, very light, but it still gives me that kind of structure that I need from my BCD. I have a single piece harness, just because it's reliable and it's strong, but I have sort of customized it in a few ways. The first way is that I've put these Rite titanium D-rings on. These are incredibly light. When you hold them, it doesn't feel like you're wearing anything. And as you can see, it doesn't use a tri-glider. So the benefit of that is that you can actually move these on the fly. As long as they're sort of straight upright, you can kind of move them around. But then as soon as you clip anything off onto it, it kind of twists it and means that it stays exactly in position. So, so I have those as my two sort of shoulder D-rings, the one on my hip, yeah, they just save a little bit of weight, and they're pretty small as well. If you compare that to a standard D-ring, something like that, you can see how it's much smaller profile, so it's less likely to get snagged on anything. It's rare that it would, but still it's a little bit smaller and lighter, which is exactly what I want in a sort of a traveling BCD. On my waistband, I've got my my dive knife, something small that acts as a little hook. I'm going to put this all on in a little bit so you can see it all sort of in position and go through it again, but yeah, that just acts as a little hook for my regulators. Much the same on the other side. The wing itself, this is an Apeks D18. This is about as small as sort of wings and bladders go. As you can see, it's not that much bigger than my backplate. It's a bit taller. I've got a good few inches sort of at the top and the bottom, but sort of either side, it's very compact. So when you're wearing it, you get a full range of motion. Your shoulders don't get sort of impeded in any way, even when you're fully inflated. The one thing that you do have to sort of take note on is that, yes, it has very little buoyancy. So if you're not squared away and you're not too good, you're wearing too much lead, this might not be enough to actually literally get you off the bottom. So just make sure that you've got your buoyancy down before you go for anything this small. The crotch strap goes down. I usually keep a small DSMB just in the sort of the small of my back, and this is it's actually a small plate that I believe is for like a side mount canister battery. I just sort of retrofitted this just to turn that to sort of fit a DSMB. And then above that, I have my little 15-meter spool, the sort of Apeks Lifeline. I like it just because it's colourful and it's strong, and it's got everything that I need. Other than that, moving up to the regulators, so Apeks DST first stage with a 5-port swivel turret. So my primary, I don't know if you can see that, try and move that bladder out of the way. So the primary comes out of the 5th port, and this is attached onto a long sort of 2-meter long hose, so I have plenty to sort of donate if I need to. I'll show you how that sort of gets fitted, and that just goes to an Apeks XTX50 second stage. My alternate, my Octo, sits on a short hose on a necklace around my neck, and I think that's like a 60-centimeter hose, nothing too long, but that just sort of sits in front of me if I ever need to. I do dive with a transmitter. I quite like having air integration on my dive computer. I just find it's quite easy, and you can kind of switch off when you're on holiday, and it'll alert you if you get down to a certain tank pressure. But also it's really easy for working out your sort of sac rates and RMBs. On the other side, if I just roll it over a little bit, so I have, if I tidy these all up, actually, this is where a lot of divers sort of foul their gear because their hoses are all twisted around. And I've done it, so yeah, no shame there, as long as you notice it. So over my left hand shoulder, standard inflator, again I'll show you that sort of when it's in position, and then that just goes to a brass with a glass faced SPG. Yeah, other than that, that's about it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get sort of relatively kitted up. I'm just going to put my rash vest and sort of shorts on, and yeah, I'll sort of show you how I am kitted all out when I'm diving somewhere nice, warm and sunny. So let's take a look right now. Okay guys, so this is pretty much me, depending on the dive. Obviously I wear my mask and whatnot, but yeah, this is kind of what I'd be wearing. So from the inside out, so I'm wearing my rash vest. This, if you can't tell, is a Scubapro rash vest. This is like a T-Flex or something they call it, but this is mainly to protect me from the sun. When you're diving in sort of warmer temperatures, instead of slathering yourself in sort of suntan lotion and anything, they can actually kill and damage coral. So it's actually better for the environment if you wear a rash vest. It's also better for you because you get this sort of abrasion resistant suit. It means that if you brush up against any fire coral, which I've done and I do not recommend it, it can actually protect you because a lot of their sort of stingers can't get through something thicker than sort of rash vest material. So so yeah, you're pretty safe, as well as just scraping against a rock and whatnot. It's a lot better that than your sort of soft wet skin. So yeah, so I usually wear a long sleeve sort of shirt. This also sort of makes you a little bit easier to identify in the water, because 6 people all in a black shorty, it's really hard to identify one another. Whereas if you've got a guy who's wearing a bright blue full length sort of rash vest, it just means that you're a bit covered. Down at the bottom, you can't see that on any sort of cameras. You might be able to see it on that one. I've got my Fourth Element Tech shorts, so just sort of thigh pockets, and that's just for storage. I've done a completely separate video on what I keep in my thigh pockets. That's going to pop up there. And I'm not going to go into those. It's mainly my spares, my kind of emergencies. That's kind of what I keep in my thigh pockets, just because it's much more convenient than having sort of waist pockets up here. I just find that they just get in the way and they're just annoying. Whereas if it's down by your thighs, you can actually use it much more practically. So yeah, and that's typically what I wear. And then just a pair of Scubapro boots, just 5mm boots. I've yet to invest in a pair of just slippers, just because a pair of 5mm boots will do everything from kind of summertime here in the UK to yeah, wintertime in Egypt. So yeah, just 5mm boots tends to do me. Okay, so on my left hand I have my compass. Nothing fancy. This is a Suunto, I don't know, SK7, it might be the SK8, I forget which is which, but that just sits on a bungee mount on my hand, so I don't have to worry about that sort of slipping around. This is the same one that I use in my cold water setup, but I just tie this sort of extra little bit of sort of bungee up so that it fits my ungloved hand. That's on my left hand side so that I can still use my inflator. On my right hand side I have my Shearwater Perdix. It's on the right hand side because if you're controlling your buoyancy, you can use your left hand to kind of do everything that you need to, while still sort of monitoring your depth, and also doing that kind of motion just to lift your inflator. Suddenly your depth has changed by a foot or half a meter, and the dive computer kind of freaks out. So I tend to keep it on my right hand side. That's about it, apart from my mask, Atomic Venom frameless mask. Okay, so moving down, so my regulators are in a long hose primary donate. So the one that, the second stage that I actually breathe from sort of sits around my neck and comes on this 2-meter long hose. This one is a little bit long. If I had some time, I'd probably invest in a sort of 1.5-meter hose, because when it's sort of actually in position, you can see I've got quite a fair amount of slack, so I could probably take a fair amount off and it would still be practical. This sits on a 90-degree angle just so that the hose doesn't come straight out at sort of 180 degrees. It kind of tucks behind my my head straight away, but to donate it, it's just as easy, and yeah, it's really sort of quick and effective. My alternate sits around a necklace around my neck, and it's exactly the same. It's not bright yellow because I'm the one who's going to be using it, and yeah, that just goes straight in my mouth. So really quick and easy. Coming down my shoulders, on my left hand side, I have a little torch. This is a Simply Scuba Mark 1 dive torch. This was effectively a exposure marine torch. It's rechargeable, it's really small, it's about 1,000 lumens, factory sealed, so I never have to worry about it sort of flooding. It's rechargeable, and I just attach a little XD bolt snap onto that. So that's my sort of emergency backup torch, but that sort of stays with me on sort of every dive pretty much. If I'm going on a night dive, then I'll bring a big sort of Goodman style dive torch that I can physically sort of have on my hand but still use my hands. That one is pretty powerful for pretty much any sort of just blue water night dive, but I like to have something with a bit of oomph and then a backup just in case. Moving down to my sort of SPG, so standard brass SPG with a glass face, just a bit stronger. They don't rattle when they're when you're using them out of the water, and an XD bolt snap, something with a large eye, this section here, so you can fit your finger through and then really control it. Just makes clipping off that much easier. Other than that, if you can see, not on that camera, but on that camera, so I have my sort of crotch strap going around my waistband. On my waistband I have my little dive knife, and my primary, my long hose kind of tucks in underneath that, and that stops that excess sort of hose from just kind of flapping around. But if I need to deploy my knife, it's quick and easy. Nothing too flashy, especially on holiday. This is mainly for sort of fishing line you see lying around. I like to collect as much as possible, but you don't want anything too stabby. So yeah, nice and blunt but with serrated edge, so I can cut through pretty much anything. And that's about it. So I'm going to turn around. You won't be able to hear me because my microphone is over there. I'll try and talk. If you can hear me, great. If you can't, I'm sorry. I'm only going to talk about the size of my wing, so I might do some sort of ADR after the effect, but basically how sort of small and compact it is. So on my back, of course, you can see my my tank and my wing. The main thing that I really wanted to show off is just how small the bladder actually is on this D18. As you can see, it's pretty much in line just with my body, and yeah, it doesn't really sort of take up any more space, but it's got plenty of buoyancy when you're on the surface, as long as you don't wear if you don't have too much lead on your back. It actually has plenty of lift. The only other thing to note is down on the sort of the D-ring down by my butt. Of course, I have my my little finger spool, the Apeks Lifeline sort of 15 meter, and then I have my sort of DSMB that's sort of readily available but out of the way. You don't really notice it there because nothing really moves down there when you're on a dive. So yeah, it's a really handy place to sort of keep those sort of quick sort of grab items. And yeah, other than that, that's the sort of the back of it. Nice and streamlined, nothing sort of out of the way and sort of flapping around, and realistically that's kind of all you need. For reference, this is a 7-litre tank, so it's not the sort of the standard size that I sort of have fitted. I'd usually have like an Ali 80 or like a sort of 11-12 litre cylinder sort of on my back, but yeah, as you can see, it's plenty big enough, and yeah, that bladder really sort of cradles the tank and stops it from kind of twisting around and moving. Okay guys, so that's my warm water setup. This is what I take with me traveling. All in, it's pretty light, especially when you compare it to one of the sort of big heavyweight sort of jacket style BCDs. It's nice and slim on my back. You can't sort of see too much of it, but it does everything that I need, and it's still really comfortable even in a rash vest, despite there being just a piece of metal on your back, you don't really feel it, mainly because you've got the buoyancy of that BCD just kind of lifting you up. So actually it's not pressing down on your back. But what do you think? What would you change? What do you dive with when you dive in sort of warmer temperatures? Yeah, let us know down in the comments below. Thank you for watching, and of course, safe diving.